Hey, everybody. So I'm going to drop this link in a couple spots and then we will begin. Hey, all right. So let's get into it. Let me just drop it in the room and then we'll go from there. And now we're good. What's going on, Garrett? So let's just focus on the larger issues as people start funneling in. And I'm more concerned about stuff like this and what we see going on out there. Now, futures have us up a little bit, but it's early and it's really, there's not a ton of volume. Maybe we rally. There's talks of peace. It's possible. I just don't see it. I just don't see it be sustainable. We could trade up and then, come right back down. I'd want to see that. I'd want to see signs of that. We could gap up like we did on Friday, only to reverse and sell back down. So we're just really going to have to see, so far, I don't see anything that's telling me that this is going to hold. I just don't see anything that's telling me that this is going to hold. The SPY, things like this, these are things that, we really have to think about. You look at these levels and, I just don't know how you're going to hold. The only way that I think that you're really going to hold here is if you're in a position where you start seeing some of this stuff start wrapping itself up. So how are you going to hold? You're going to hold because, let me get rid of this. It's actually old. I can get rid of all the annotations actually. But you're actually in a position here, I'm going to leave these up tonight, where news could drive us. Like if there's peace, we're going to go higher. We'll rally. Now, will that rally be sustainable? Probably not, because that's not why we were going down in the first place, but it will definitely help. So you have higher prices rising, and at the same time, you have GDP contracting and global GDP is contracting. So you have these moves down. Now, that's there. If you take rid of these indicators, just look at this for a moment so you get this, right? So, okay. Looks like you're doing better, but now look at these moves. Right? I mean, they're getting worse. The angles are getting worse. It looked like it might be getting better, but now they're not. So just watch this and watch these levels and we'll see how we do. But overall, you are bidding up a little bit. So maybe, but from where you closed from 420 to 422 is not really something I'm going to get overly excited about, 60 basis points. You want to see it up like 2-3%, massive buying, and you can get squeezed tomorrow. It could happen. I'd be more interested in seeing tomorrow's open than where futures are right now. So, we did sell down 4%, so we can bounce. Now, I just want to point this out because people, were asking about this today, and I think this is important. This is the Chinese stock market. So this is what's going on with them since this broke. And no one's really talking about this, but the Chinese stock market is really the first to break that level. Now, you obviously have this little nightmare that's going on where they've halted everything, right? And you have this going on in the Russian stock market. That's not good. So when we all know that, right? So then you just kind of cycle through them and go, well, what's the DAX doing? Well, the DAX is nowhere near that, right? So something's going to happen, right? Is the DAX going to follow this? Are we going to follow this? Right? Because that's a long way down, right? That's a long way down. So something to think about, everyone. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I certainly don't think it is going to happen, but I guess what I want you to focus on is that these are getting to a point where it's kind of ridiculous, right? So I mean, I'll just tell you right now, I'm long this before it froze, and I sold a bunch of puts on it, and the puts started expiring last week. I'm fine with it. I mean, I just locked the money in, but that's what happens to a stock. If you sold or bought puts on a stock and they freeze it, right? You settle wherever it is. So I sold like the 5, so I just booked the money, and I got them out to April. Every expiration I did it with. But anyway, so you see stuff like this happening. You just need to be aware of it. And I just want to talk about this from a macro standpoint, so we're all on the same page. Please don't act up today. I'm not in the mood. So I just want to talk about this from a macro standpoint, where you focus on these levels. And you could see when you broke these levels and they flip and they become support. Well, that's still 10%. But why I'm showing you this is these are all coming down because global GDP is coming down. So you have names like BABA that are going to be issues where, let's try and figure this out today, find out why they're having problems. So you're going to have names like BABA where you're breaking down. Like names like this are just going to keep, they're just going to keep dropping. There's no other way to say it. Let me throw here, put these up. And I actually should probably talk about these while we're in, but I can wait to talk about these. But look at this, look at things like this. Like this is what you need to be super concerned about. I'd like to go over, okay, we're going to be pulling a new charting system up in a moment because I am not going to be dealing with this tonight. So, see how you broke? It's the first close. Look at this close. Just so you get it. I mean, just so you understand this close. We were not here. This is the pandemic. And just to put it in perspective with how significant this close is, that's the pandemic. And that's where you're at during the pandemic. And you didn't break. So if you go through this and you look at Tesla, and I'll start taking questions after this, but I just want people to get this. But see how you broke right here? Right? And then you were up. That was October 2019. You have never closed below it until now. So that's a concern when you start seeing stuff like that. That becomes a real concern. That's a huge technical trigger. And at the same time, you're below the 50, which did not go well the last time that you broke that. So, and now you're below this. So this could be a 6 handle fairly quickly. Just be aware of that. And that would take the markets down. So that's what I have to go over. Let's go over your questions and then we'll go from there. What's going on, Fifth? Hey, Yeti. What's going on, Jen? Hey, Zim. Morning. I'm on the East Coast. I'm in Miami. Where are you from? BNO. Let's do it. So, yeah, I would worry about this little flip right here. United States Brent Oil Fund. So this little flip, you might got a little bit ahead of yourself here. So I actually am looking at this. I'm looking at this right here, this USO, right, on the weekly. Same thing, but look. And then I'll show you this on the daily. Look how you have this inside bar right here, right? I ran a bunch of charts this week. This was one of the most interesting because if I flip this, I could get back up to here fairly quickly. But let's go back and take a look at yours on a daily time frame. And let's throw this out. And let me just give me a moment here. And we're going to do recently viewed so that everyone can follow along. So you're doing something very similar, right? So that's the pattern that we're looking for. See how you have this little bar right here? It's 25% of this red bar. These are called bullish haramis. I actually did a whole video series on this. And what this does, okay, what this does is when you flip this, your read is to here. So that gives you a little cushion, and then your stop is below this bar. Technically, it could actually be this one. You should never break that, ever, right? So you're basically in this for $1. I mean, I'll say it again. based upon this pattern, I buy it if it broke here, and then it should never break this. If it does, you got to get out of the way. I can throw the other indicators in and we can see if they are adding any value. And it doesn't really seem like it. The 5 and the 8, you're below. I wouldn't worry about that too much yet. I wouldn't worry about that too much. I like this. This red bar, right, only became a doji followed by down. The next day or the next time you were green encompassed both of these bars. So you have definitely more buying than selling. That can work. I would use that little doji move. Hey, Salah. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. If we rally a lot, I'll sell into it. What you need to be concerned about is what we had on Wednesday, where people thought that we were going to rally and keep going, and we had a lockout short squeeze. That could happen tomorrow. So you're going to have to just be cautious about it, and you have to pick a side. You know, you're either going to drop. If we open up 58 basis points, we could squeeze. But we opened up on Friday, right? And that's what I'd rather just gap down tomorrow 2-3%, get it over with, or whatever the percentage is. But let's just talk about this. I mean, you closed here, right? 331. What was the close of this bar? 331.21. You opened here 324. So they opened you up, right? 334. They opened you up a full percent. So you made you think you were going to run, right? And then they dropped it from that percent down 10 points all day long, selling. So maybe they're going to gap us up again, take us over a level, convince us that it's going higher, and do the same thing. So until the selling gets exacerbated to the downside, I'm selling rallies. What's going on, Garrett? Hey, Daniel. Bitcoin chart is interesting, tightening up. Well, I would think that Bitcoin would have gotten a lot of play now, way more than it's getting. You're getting in this range, and I have all these levels marked. I'm going to leave them. But this is major support, 32.9. 37 was that breakout right here. And then you flip the level, right? And then when you flip that level, you can see where you're going. And then you're going to push a little bit higher to 49,000. And that's what you're going to look for. And then flip that. And then you can get to this 65 level. But you have a lot of work to do, a lot. The only thing I could say that's good is you're starting to trade around this level, right? You're starting to trade right around there. And that's what we want. Okay. We want to be able to trade right around there. So, and you've been basing, I mean, you've really been basing for some time. Look, from here over, down here. So from all year, you've been basing. You're not making new lows like the indexes. So you're holding in there. It's getting a lot of heat right now because it's not going higher. And people are saying, oh, you should be in gold as a hedge. This is not a hedge. Well, let's just do it this way, just to put it in perspective. Let's find the first. Okay. Right. And let's mark where you're at right now. You're down 17%. Right? So it's pretty much not a hedge. Okay. What's the S&P down? From the high, from January. What are we down? Let's go to the first. I think I only have the third, so we'll go here. And what are we down? 11%. It's not a hedge. So, I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than that. So I'm not saying that it doesn't have functionality. I'm not saying it doesn't have purpose, but the whole hedge argument is shattered. In my opinion, I don't know how you could be saying it's a hedge. Doesn't mean it doesn't go higher, but you have some work to do here. And these are your levels. Just remember these levels. You could trade off of them all day long. Look, can't break. It won't break here. It's using 31.40 as major support. Right? You're right here on this level, 41,750, right? Major or minor resistance. Here's major resistance. So, I mean, that's where you're at. I like it. I like it to base here, but that's it. I think you could drop a lot more. I think you could. I do. I think that I would like to see like 5% down days where people just panic and get out. I'm still talking to people that are long like this that are talking about buying more. There was one guy that commented on it going, I'm going to put 50% of my account in there. I'm like, why not just give it away? I mean, here's your 50, you're breaking your 50 day, you close below it emphatically, you close below this line. Simple technical analysis tells you you're going to here. I mean, people might not like what I have to say, but it's accurate. So this is where you can get to in a couple days, right? You can get there in a couple days. It doesn't need to, it might not take months, right? Remember, you take the elevator or stairs up, right? And you take the window down. That's how it works. So that's kind of my opinion on it. Does steel more than I think so. I like steel. It's tough because we did this trade and we lost money on it in the newsletter, and we lost 75 cents on it. But I like this. I like this a lot, and I think this can continue. I do. I think this can continue. Now, let's look at let's look at this one. So this one's doing kind of the opposite, right? We're selling down again. Kind of looks like this is nasty, right? You have this bearish engulfing. Now you have this flag. You broke down this wedge. It should be holding. It's just not. But you didn't even trade 100,000 shares on Friday. That's what I think you're going to be dealing with tomorrow. I think you're going to have apathy and not a lot of selling or buying. But I don't know. I mean, who's buying ahead of the Fed meeting right now? Right. So I like the steel names. I mean, I really do. I think that they look good. Overall, I think they look great. Here's Newell. One thing go, right? So you look like you're breaking there. I mean, that whole sector does not look awful. It really doesn't. It looks like it's just resting. DB I like, but you have to be thinking long-term, Damian. Like I have a position in this and I'll just buy when it breaks again. But I may, like if I break this 9 level, I'll probably close out like half the position. If I break like 947, I'll probably close out half that position. And what I'll do with it is I'll just wait to buy it back. Because if I break that 947, there's nothing here. I mean, there's no reason that this can't go to this. It's actually lower. That I can't go down here. And I don't want to be dropping like that. So I'll probably close out half here, which would give me a very small position on it. And then look at adding to it like in here. And then if it just keeps going and keeps doing this, just, keep buying it. So that's how I'm going to look at it anyway, to do things like that. But you're buying the dips. I mean, that's how you have to buy that. You buy it and you put it away. You can't expect that to go up anytime soon. What's going on in Lighten? USO. I like USO. I think that could work. I was looking at this trade and I really do like it. I don't know what that is. That looks awful though. Must look like Liberty to me. It looks like pain. I like these moves. I like these little inside days. They're like perfect. And look at this volume. Like nobody wanted anything to do with it on Friday. I'm wondering if this is what you're going to be dealing with tomorrow. Just no volume. I like that though. I think you're going to head back to here. I think you at least test this level again. Whether or not it breaks that level, I don't know, but I do think you test the highs of oil again. I like that, Michael. Good afternoon, Arizonas. Do you prefer long, strong sectors, energy, agriculture, medicine, or short the weak tech, especially if we're in for a long slide? Here's the problem buying. Here's the problem, and here's your solution. Okay. For me, when this corrects and when it fully corrects, they're going to throw out everything, right? So understand when this corrects, they're going to throw out every single thing. Now, what does that mean? That means that your agricultural stocks are going to come in. It means that your steel stocks are going to come in. It means everything will come in when they start to sell. Now, you even saw this on Friday. So you had ZIM, right, which broke out, looks great. Look at this. And this was your move during the day at 2 o'clock when the market started to sell off. So here you put this and you line that. This you throw the Qs in. Here's 2 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock, and then we just start selling down, right? When did ZIM come in? Right around that. Here's 1:30. Still hit a high, 2 o'clock. Selling was too great. That was it. Right? People thought that this might go even though the markets were going to get hit. I think you need to pay attention to that because it's everywhere. And it was the first sign that we actually saw it everywhere in some time. So here's 12, here's 2 o'clock, right? And then we dropped. So everything sold off. We've had this negative correlation going on with these names, and we didn't have that on Friday. So that negative correlation went away. Now, what that means is that we could be setting up to drop and everyone's just going to blow out everything. So the long answer to your question is that I much would rather be short tech with tight stops. Now, if you don't want to short tech, now this is one we've cleaned up on like twice now. SARC, right? If you don't want to short it, you can go long these ETFs, right? I mean, these are huge moves that these things could be setting up for, right? On spikes. So that's what I would focus on. I'd focus on this kind of stuff if this was something that I was really interested in, because it could really go. And you'll have to see, but we'll see how we do tomorrow. But I expect light volume and selling. I mean, why would you want to be buying stocks in front of the Fed not knowing what they're saying? If we settled on war or we had some war issues resolved, right, and a ceasefire, then we would have some problems, right, on the short side. But we don't have that, so I'd be really careful there. I would rather be short than buying the commodities. But the commodities are going to stay higher. Look, if you go through CPI data, this is the highest we've been over the 10-year. We're never over the 10-year bond, ever. Last time was 1980, 81. It was a bonanza for commodity names. Absolute bonanza. Yep. It was a great time to sell. And, you know, a lot of people that bought into that on one day. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen here. I think if you look at the futures, look at the first 1 minute bar of the futures, right? If you look at that, I don't have futures here. I don't want to switch to the other computer, but if you look at futures, we haven't broken above that 1 minute bar above or below it. So I don't know how this is going to play out, but I would not be in a big hurry here. Hey, Zach. So, okay, Zach. So let's look at this. Here's what I don't like. Let's remove these segment lines and let's see where we're at. So here's what I'm not crazy about. I'm not crazy about this 327. We have to flip and get up to this level. I'm not crazy about that. Okay. So I have to kind of watch this and see how this is going to play out. So what does that mean? Well, it means that I kind of have to see if I'm going to break this. Am I really going to break this and clear it? Now, I didn't really do that, did I? I did it the one day, but my follow through failed, right? So this resistance broke and then it became support and then it became resistance again. You see that? You're through, sits, opens, can't get above it, resistance. Now I've got this long-legged doji. So do I really want to be buying into this? You know, the answer is no. You don't really want to be buying into that. So something, again, to think about. Now, let's just see. Yeah, they could. They could. They could. Let's go look at this ENPH. I'm just looking at the futures. I just don't think it's going anywhere. I mean, we're at 50 basis points, going to hold. Look, it did exactly what you wanted it to do to see what, got above, opened, gets above, lures people in, right? Like this is telling you, how many times you have to see the same story over and over again before you see it, right? Like how many times you have to see these breaks over that fail and reverse in trades? Like this is setting up for a short. That's how this is setting up. So, that's how I look at it anyway, that you're setting up for a short here. Oh, no volume. So sorry about that. So what I'm getting at is it's the same pattern over and over again. So you could see how you're sitting right here, and you flip this level, right? Now, when you flip that level, what I'm pointing at is you broke out, everybody got in, but you never closed there. That's why I always say if you buy these and you don't close over, get out of the way. Now you could have bought this where you closed over, but look what it did to you. Stopped you out again, right? Never got over. So when you see these kind of pop over resistance lines and then reverse nasty on a resistance line, that becomes a short. It's pretty clear. So you rejected your 200-day, you rejected your resistance. That's what it becomes. I don't look at it as an indicator. A lot of people look at it as an indicator. Just look at futures. Look at the futures market. Any system has it. You can see that futures are up 55 basis points. They really haven't moved that much since we've opened. And, I really don't know that they're going to do that much tonight. Right now, they're just kind of trading sideways. I don't know that you're going to do much today tonight with the Fed tomorrow. Tighter usually means that you're going to go violently one way or another. Right? When you get this tight, you can't stay this tight forever. But, I would say I wouldn't be in a big hurry. But I would use futures to determine that. Zaim, that's a really tough question. If I had to look at this, I don't think, my personal belief is that I don't think we take out the highs. See, this can load in a little bit faster now. So I don't think you're coming back to here anytime soon. So I think it was Goldman or JP Morgan lowered it today. I don't think you're coming back to here. I think you have so much work to do. But when you start basing, that's what you want. You'd rather base than be in a bull market where you're just going up, because if you're basing, leaders are going to emerge out of it. And then there's very few leaders. So everybody buys the leaders. And it leads to large outside gains. So you actually want to be in a market where you're basing more than you want to be in a market that's just like ripping. Because when you're ripping, yeah, everything works, but then you have these gap down rallies like this. So you have to watch. But I don't know that you're back here, right? This took how many months to get to this from here down? I actually thought we'd 2.5, 3. I actually thought we'd rally, but we didn't. We just didn't. And now we know why. But inflation's way worse than they let us on to believe. That's pretty clear. And you can see, right, what you're doing with the 21-day. They just outright, were not really truthful about inflation at all. And now it's out of hand. Like they should have been doing something about it. I mean, obviously, look, politicians are going to always blame it on somebody else, right? I don't care who's in office. The other side's always going to blame somebody else. Nothing's ever their fault. But in regards to coming up with a GDP number, you have to understand that you have inflation. Inflation is killing people on oil, is killing their food pricing. So that all drives GDP down way more. And by letting it run the way that Jerome has let it run without doing anything is a really, really silly thing to do. So, and this is what we get for it. Can we look at ETH? So I'd be surprised if we saw the highs right now with GDP coming in. That's not right. There we go. So here's your wedge line, Brian. And all we're doing is riding that wedge line straight down. That's all we're doing. We're riding that wedge line straight down. CHPT and TAN. There's nothing to do there. You're just riding. I mean, you're literally riding that wedge line straight down. There's nothing really to do or say. And it's respecting the 50-day. Every time you pop over it, you're selling. So CHPT, TAN. I thought this could go. It looks like it's getting tired. It looks like it's doing something like this, and now it's going to roll right back down. So, that might be, I don't know. You can try it. So, I mean, I just saw California come out and tell people not to charge their cars as much. I was shocked to see it. I want to verify it, but don't charge your cars because we have an electricity issue. I mean, I don't know what the heck's going on. They need a policy. They need an energy policy. But I mean, if it ever was time for solar, for God's sake, or anything, I mean, you're at the time. I mean, this is it. So just watch this kind of stuff. I'd be careful here. This to me looks like it could roll and come back to 14.15 and then maybe break that and trade back down. So just watch it. You could catch something like this, but you'd have to kind of see where that's going to take you, right? So maybe we do something like this and then take a look at it. So, I mean, maybe this could bounce up to here to this 2021, maybe. You have to remember, this is a $10 stock. As I was explaining to somebody earlier, people ask how bad it can get. This is down 95%. So this can go to $10. TAN I like. I think TAN should be doing better than it is. Here and here, and then get over. You have to get over and flip over. I thought this would be doing better, but some of the major names in it are just, they're not breaking like this. Like you broke over and you reject it, right? Just like that, this one. So, Terry, it's not something that I'm chasing. Maybe getting above this 200, maybe, but on this break, I've got 3 red days, right? Well, yeah, I got a doji, and then I made a decision on the doji. So to me, this is probably going to break and head back down to here. So, I mean, if I had to bet, that's how I'd be looking at it. If I broke this, I'm probably heading to here, which means that this is probably going to do something similar where it heads back down to here. But you have some resistance in here more than you do on these names, than you do on this. But this has a pretty clear shot straight down if you make a lower low to these levels. SLCA, I covered that in the private chat too. I'll do it again. I don't really care. You see these levels? I like this, and I like this level right here, and I like this volume. So I like this. I mean, there's not much more to say about it. It was it was like, I think I reviewed like 100 stocks for the group today. And that was one that is definitely on my list to watch for tomorrow. I like that trade. I'm kind of worried about this doji up here, but this is a huge base. And you've got your volume and you're breaking out. Isn't what because the CPI news that we went up? The CPI number was good that day, yeah, but there was no follow through. Yeah, I mean, I have no interest in look, I have positions in crypto. I don't look at it as trading it so much right now. It's just sitting with the stuff. So let's get rid of these. VLO, this is what I'm looking at. There you have to watch these wicks, right? So just watch them. You have to get through that. Once you're through that, you can make a better decision. Jared, I mean, I've been buying it on the way down. Like I've been adding to this on pullbacks. This got to 11. I bought some. Like, it depends on your stock. I'm holding this level. I mean, maybe this breaks. It could. And maybe it trades down. And if it does, I'll just wait to add. Right? And just let it break. The dividend's not going away. I mean, look, I like these names a lot. I covered this in the top 10 this week. Like, I don't know why people think that you're not going to need coal. Like, the coal market move is done. Well, these stocks are nowhere near their highs, right? Like this one is breaking out. You can see that. You go and take a look at some of these, like these longer term ones. Hold on, let me see if I can find one that's like a longer term one. I mean, that's somewhat longer, right? So, but most of them wind up going bankrupt and then come back. But you look at some of these levels, I mean, you're nowhere near where you could get to. Nowhere near. I mean, this could double again. So, I mean, look at this from here, even here, reversal, pops over, and now look at you. And that can continue. So I would be picking at it now. If you really just want to figure out, you just want to trade oil in and of itself, use this. And use the peak over that line. And then use that as your stop. I mean, that would be the easiest way to trade it. I don't know how April's PPI and CPI they have to be, unless they're manipulating the numbers, they're going to have to be worse. The only thing that I think is that I think used car prices are going to come down. Used car prices were like half of the gain, right? So all of a sudden, people aren't going to be buying that second car anymore. It's not going to happen. So I agree with you 100%. What's going on, Dan? Hello back. What would be the indication you have to buy long term? I think you need to see some level of capitulation, Badge. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Like when we had this here, we had sheer panic, sheer like, I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you were trading that, but let's just go through it so we can explain it. Sheer panic. Get me out at any price. I've had enough. Huge spikes up in volume, huge for 2 days, just dumping everything that you possibly can, right? Huge, even though the volume was up, huge spikes. Put that in perspective to this, right? Huge spikes in volatility. Get me out. What do we have going on here? We're like, it's like milquetoast. It's not good, but it's okay. Like, it's like people aren't getting it yet, how bad this can get. And, to me, it's like a frog in boiling water. When you look at this, it's like, wow, I got bearish engulfings here. And, I'm not going to sell down and we're just going to pretend that this is normal. Okay. Where's the panic? And, I find it interesting because I get emails from people and I get other contact information where, from what I can see, they want to buy. They still want to buy. They want to average down. Like, could you imagine averaging down? Like I had one person bring it up, and I was trying to talk them to it. Imagine averaging down in this. Or imagine averaging down. There's a reason why professional traders, once they have their position size on, they don't average down. You want to average down in this? I mean, why not just rip up your money? It's crazy. Think about that. Think about that with the average down. And I'm still hearing it. So I think the people that bought this dip have no idea how bad this could, or bought this, how bad it can get. I think Tesla's done. I think Tesla's got a real problem. It's got to reverse. I put a short on Friday on Tesla, and then I even added to it after hours. I'm just being blunt. We have never closed below this. We never closed below this number ever since 2019. Not even the pandemic got us below this. To me, that's telling us that we're going lower. Now, my hope is that it's a flash and we're down here and then we bounce. But time's going to tell. So, time's going to tell on that, and I don't have the answer yet on that. So, we're just going to have to watch and wait. But I really do believe that. I do believe, looking at that's awful. 900's over. Look, you have to realize you're at 4. Let's put this in perspective so we get this, right? Because there's a lot lost here that people just are not getting. So when you were here, okay, when you were at these levels and we went to here, right, and we split 5 to 1 and then broke out. This was when that happened, right? When the split, or it was up here, I forget where it was exactly. It was here. But when you're saying with this is you are up from this break right here in just January. Let's just use this level right here. Let's use the pandemic low. Okay. You're still up tenfold in 2 years. So for this to pull back is nothing. For this to truly pull back, it's absolutely nothing. So I don't think people truly get the fact that you could pull back to 540 like nothing. There's no reason that you can't get to this level. There's zero, right? Maybe you'll stop because institutions are going to buy it, but you're not even oversold, right? You just got into oversold territory. So I think there's a lot here that people just aren't grasping yet. I don't know if it's because I've been doing this so long that you can see it, that I see it, but I'm just baffled by it here. So, this is where you were. This is where you pulled back to, right? So, you just hit this a month ago. You don't think we can get to 724 again? Here, put this in perspective. So, okay. So, right? See what this is doing? You don't think that this can follow the cues on the monthly? This is not good. This is setting up for a major move down. And my hope is that the quad witching ends it, and that the Fed ends it, that we just have some kind of panic move and that flushes us out. That's my hope. So we'll see if I'm right. Right now, Again, we've been talking this whole time. We're in this 30 to 50 basis point range tonight. So, the futures are up. You have to see how they open. Look, Dan, they come out tonight and say world peace, and the market's going to melt up. Other than that, I don't know why anybody's stepping in front of the market tomorrow. Either way, I went short on Friday because I didn't think I had a lot of gap up risk, because I don't think that they're in any position where they're going to have peace anytime soon. I think you could get there. I mean, I think you could drop another 10, 20%. I do. I think you could easily drop 5. I think that's an absolute lock, right? I mean, this is a gap. That one of my larger concerns is this, because I had one up here and it reversed it. We had an island gap reversal here. It looked like we were going to go. They can run. And then, boom, there was your island gap reversal. And that was the end of that. But this bar right here, and the way that this is set up, you break down, you get to this level. See it? Like, you can get there, man. You can get there fast. Yeah, it could get there. I think you're gonna have big swings this week. Dan, I like the shipping companies. I like the shipping companies. I really do. I mean, I can't stress it enough. ZIM, yeah, I'm all over ZIM. I love it. GSL is one I didn't cover yet. Hold on. So I've been looking at this, but you see this line? You need to flip. See, I didn't flip that level. It stopped. So make sure you flip that level first. But then, yeah, absolutely look at it. Watch that top 10 video I did. It covers this. So, but it'll cover all this. Hold on one second here. Get to this. But give me 1 second. I apologize. There we go. Okay, good. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second here. I have a little quick bug. I just realized. Let me fix it. I don't think it's about dry bulk. I think it's about the routes. The routes that seem to have the most value are the ones that are in Southeast Asia. I'd focus on those companies that have those routes. No, I think CVX is going a lot higher. I think CVX and Exxon are just going to keep going. There's no reason for them to stop. So here you are. I mean, look at that close. There's no reason for that to stop. This pulling back to this level is probably a buy. I mean, there's no reason that these are going lower. They're just going to be cash cows, and they're going to keep increasing their dividend now. What's going on? Happy Sunday. URA. So 2637, 2564, flip and go to here. You rejected it twice. This is long-legged doji. You had to make a decision. It made it. So I think you can head back to here pretty quickly. 23 bucks. Yep. Please like this video. It helps with the algorithm. I appreciate that. I feel like I missed a question. I'm just trying to see if I did or not. So do you think we have Doc? I think if you have Doc, I think if you're long Doc and UPST, depending on your cost basis, you should be out. I mean, Badge, I don't know if you're watching the videos that I'm doing on the week, but like I'm short this. I mean, I'm short this. I think you're going to $75. I don't know why somebody would be long this here. I don't know how you could be looking like, and I mean this respectfully. I don't know how you could be looking at this chart and going, oh, I need to buy this, right? I don't get that. I'm not saying it can't work. Anything can work, but you short this. I mean, that's what you do. It actually just triggered on Friday to be a true short. Actually, Thursday. That's not true. Yeah, triggered on Thursday. But we were shorting it in the room right into the 50 over and over and over again. And it kept working. 121, 121 over again. Then it dropped to 107, 109. Then we broke this low. Next time we'll put it on is when it breaks 100. And it will break 100. So these are your levels for this. Maybe you can fill this gap. But if I broke 71, I'd be gone. If I broke $71, I'd be out of the way. 77.81 should get you up to here, $93. That can happen. 88, 89 level can happen. If you get through the 77.81, lower this can happen, 92. Minimum of 10 points are possible if you get up here. Sometimes those gap fills work. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they roll over and they get super ugly. We got bailed out of a put position on this on Friday towards the end of the day. But anyway, see how you're rallying? You know, you came down here. See how this traded up? Looked like it was going to go. Similar. See this break, right? And you thought we were getting here and then it rolled, right? So you have this, you have the inside bar, and that inside bar picked a direction, and that was it. Yeah, the Fed's going to raise rates. I mean, look, let's be clear. If the Fed doesn't raise rates, we have a real issue. So we have a real issue with inflation if the Fed doesn't raise rates. Like you'll be looking at $10 gas in like 2 months. If it takes that long, it's going to be a real problem. So the question is, what do we do about it and how do we fix it? I think that if you get 50 basis points and he's got good language, rip the Band-Aid off, get it over with. Because he's not going to be able to raise rates all year like this. See, like when GDP, when gross domestic product comes in, that's why you're seeing JP Morgan or Goldman or whoever it was. I'll tell you in a moment who it was because I actually retweeted it. Goldman lowered their S&P, which is actually not great. I'd rather it be somebody else. But the fact that Goldman cut their GDP estimate, the reason they did that is because global GDP is going to come in. That's why they cut the S&P estimate, because they're looking at this and going, there's no way that these companies can make this kind of money. Their costs are too high and people are not going to spend. And they have algorithms that they have their equations that they run this with, and they're accurate. They're very accurate with that number. Now, how that number acts and how the PE is created they're not as accurate. But if they think it's going to come in, they're telling you GDP is coming in. That's what they're telling you. So I think you should have a game plan. So I went through it in the private video tonight, Dan. So, and it's time stamped if you look in the room with FCX, and I go over it and I explain why. This is how I would look at this trade. Okay. If you're concerned and you feel you're overextended, or you're just concerned about the trade because the trade's not working, right? Like here's your dragonfly, and then we didn't get over it, right? So like this is really the perfect entry, is that, right? And then look at where you are. So you were 10 cents away from like the perfect entry because you want to get over the dragonfly. Dragonfly has not been broken yet. This is a dragonfly bar. The dragonfly has not been broken yet. So what would I use? You have to pick a level. So if you have to pick a level, you might want to just pick the low of this bar, 46.35. So if I was in those, I wouldn't worry about this bar, 46.60. But if I break 46.35, I would get out. You know, I'll be blunt on the short positions I put on and put positions I put on Friday. If I get into the open and they are against me off the open, I'm just going to close them. I'll just close them and then look at them later in the day at putting them back on. I'm not going to play games and get bled out all day, right? I mean, that's how you lose money. So what you need to do, Dan, is you need a plan. And if your trade's not working, just get out of your trade and just go from there. Now, maybe we gap up tomorrow and FCX runs. I don't know. All I can tell you is that you need to stop. And right now I would be using 46.35. That's what I would use. And I'd get out. I'd be gone and wait for the next trade. Wait for it to break out of this. Because the other thing is, if you go up and you have calls or puts, not only are you going to lose on put if we open up tomorrow, but you're going to lose on the implied vol because this is going to gap down. So that's going to be an issue. So that's how I would play it, Dan. I would not be shorting oil. I mean, I just wouldn't be doing it. You can do it. I just wouldn't do that trade. I mean, they're not getting more oil. Iran may have bombed. We don't know yet. Iran may have bombed a U.S. base in Iraq. So that's not good, right? For talks. They can't get the Saudis on the phone. Okay. We can't get oil from Russia. Venezuela oil is too thick for our refineries. I don't see how anyone could be looking at the oil situation and going, it's going to get better. I just don't see it. I mean, I think we're going to see $10 oil or $10 gas. Personally, I think that's where this is going. I ran on that's $2 billion flowed into the market. Yeah, I mean, look, you have to remember something. They threw $1 trillion into this market for people staying at home. People didn't go back to their businesses. They bought stocks with that money. Okay. People got their PPP checks and their unemployment checks. I mean, they talk about it. Like the spikes in the market when those checks came in, right? They speculated, they bought Bitcoin and everything else. That's where the money came from. So that's what drove the stock market up. But it's a problem because it's going to come out. Terry, in 2020, they printed, in the past 12 or 18 months, they have printed 40% of all US dollars ever printed. It's absolute insanity to think that this is not going to have a consequence. It's why people can't afford homes. It's why I've mentioned this before, but watch that thing on New World Order or New Changing World Order that Ray Dalio did. It could be China, it could be someone else, but 10, 15 years, if we don't get it together, we're going to lose our status. I firmly believe that. It's a real problem. And all that money is going to come out because they're going to take whatever they can get because it was free money. Yes. Yes, I think so. But you have to realize too that theoretically, Dan, that this is going to drop $17 the day that you get that dividend. So you have to be prepared to come in and see it at 60. It's not like you're going to get the dividend and the stock's going to stay where it is. Every ex-dividend date, it drops, right? So hold on. So this was the one dividend date. So you can see this. So this is where you close that day, right? And this was a close of 48.20 and you opened at 46.50. So $2.50. So that was the dividend, $2.50 then. Okay. And then it traded itself back up. You just buy more the next day because then people buy it. They buy it when the dividend comes out. Right. Same thing with this, like the same exact thing happened here. Same thing will happen again with this. Like here's your dividend when your dividend hit, right? Everybody was in, you get your dividend, which was 60 cents, right? It opened at 5.10. So it opened the difference in the dividend. Then the stock traded back up. Same exact thing will happen. Well, this is theory, Dan. Same thing will happen here. I'm going to have to wrap this up. But yes. Oh, I think commodities are absolutely screwed. I mean, look, I'm short this. There's an $8 billion trade in nickel, right? And I don't know where the heck, like, here's one thing you have to think about. Okay. let's just walk this, because people aren't putting two and two together. So let me just put this together. I don't get this fundamental, but I'll do it as I wrap this up for the evening. You see what's going on here with Tesla? You know you need nickel for a Tesla, right? Go look at nickel pricing and where it is right now. Why do you think that this is selling down so much? They need nickel. So when are next earnings? Here, they're going to be a disaster, right? That's what people are predicting, that these earnings are going to be awful. You need nickel. They don't have it. So it's a real problem. So I would be really aware of that. The other company that's got a real issue, and that was in the top 10, like they're the largest counterparty on an $8 billion loss, right? I showed this in that top 10 video. This was a $2 billion loss. They lost 30% of their value. 20% of their value puts them at 100. So I think they could be a disaster. Well, we'll see. That was just, I mean, the fact that they are not calling this guy's margin call is a real problem. Okay, it's a real problem that they're not calling his margin call. And the fact that they canceled all the trades on the other traders that put their capital at risk, it's a real problem. We are double the CPI. I mean, that's just a fact. We just are. I mean, if you look at inflation in the 80s, you're at 13%. Go look at those numbers though. I could do a whole thing on that alone, Jared. Oh, I think so too, Terry. It's just made a mess of everything. If I was going to short oil, I mean, look, you have these. Hold on. And I'm going to have to wrap this up. I've got a conference call to jump on. I mean, some people will buy this. To me, here, let me just throw it this way. They could short this, Bloomberg Crude, United States Oil Fund. You could short this if you thought it was going to go down. I do this for a lot of reasons. So I do have a group, but I just don't talk about it a lot. And I close it a lot and then open it. But there is actually a traded community. Some of the members are actually in here right now. I saw what was going on during the pandemic. I'll tell you why I do it. I mean, I've been trading for over 2 decades, Splashy. So, and I don't need to do this. I mean, I'm not saying that to be condescending. I just don't need to do it. But I saw in 2020 what was on Twitter as actual financial advice from quote traders. And I realized that they were great marketers and had no idea what they were doing. They were just great social media marketers and they were getting people clobbered. And so I have a friend that has an account that's very successful. He's got like a couple 100,000 followers and he's got a big trading community anyway. I was talking to him about it and I was bitching and he's like, you should do this. And I've been doing it. And it just keeps growing. So, but I like doing it. I do this because I want to educate people. I mean, that's why I do it, frankly. I want to educate people. I want them to actually be aware of what it truly takes to be successful at this. And I'm doing it all day, every day anyway. You owe the dividend. You'll owe the dividend. If you sell something you don't own, you'll be paying out $17 when it opens down. Don't do that. Yeah, but here's what you have to look at, Root. Did you watch that video I did on the 10-year? Look at where you're at. Here you are in October. Here's your high, right? Here's your 10-year. See what I'm saying? You want to play with that right now? Probably not. I mean, the 10-year is controlling UPST. That's how it works. Yeah, it's a perfect. It is. It's an absolute disaster. Over 2 decades, almost 2.5 decades. Yeah, it's close to 2.5 decades now. I started very young. I'm in my 40s. All right, everyone. Have a good night. Trade to win tomorrow.